Better at the Athletic with my co-host, former Braves reliever Eric O'Flaherty. What's happening, Eric?
What's up, Dave?
Hey, man. Back from New York. It was a nice series for the Braves to continue this run on. I know a lot of people kind of dismissed last week because it was against a struggling Rays team that ain't what they usually are, and against the Tigers, who they swept. And I didn't dismiss that. I thought they looked good. And starting with really that last game in Baltimore, they've carried forward this doing exactly what we thought they would eventually do, and looking a lot more like themselves and scoring early, getting big runs, and scoring in the first inning, scoring some big runs, and most importantly, hitting some balls out of the park up and down the
Yeah.
lineup.
hmm Yeah,
Take
it's a
two out of
funny
three from the
thing.
Yankees. That's impressive.
Yeah, and that's a good team with good offense and a tough park to play in. But it's a funny thing because in baseball, especially at the level that these guys are playing at, when you're not right, anybody can beat you. Anybody can get the best of you. And when you're right, there's no team that can stop you. It's kind of what happens in the middle. But when they're hitting like this and hitting the ball out of the park, which we knew they'd eventually start doing again, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, especially as long as they keep getting the starting pitching they're getting from
Yeah.
specifically the three guys. I know it drops off to Charlie at the fourth. When Charlie's on, he's a good pitcher. He's a really good fourth starter. But
Yeah.
when he's not, hey, he can give up 5 runs and walk a lot of guys. But the real problem is the fifth starter spot. Schwellenbach has really been encouraging his last two times out. And if he can keep doing that, I still think they need to go out and get a starting pitcher, an innings eater, like we've talked about. But if Schwellenbach can keep doing what he's doing, and then with Ian Anderson, has started he starts a rehab assignment this week. He's actually pitched in a minor league game. It was the complex league game, rookie league, and it looked good. I saw some video of it. Um, with him coming back, if Schwellenbach keep doing what he's doing, you're looking good, right? I mean, you're solid right now. But the problem, of course, is that Charlie's 40. Sale has had
Yeah.
an extensive injury history. Is already at the highest innings total he's had in 5 years, and we're
Yeah.
not even in July. So you can't, I don't think, just count on all those guys, is what I'm saying, to stay healthy. That's why I think you still, before the deadline, as we get closer, it'll be more clear what they need to get. But I think they probably still need to need an innings hitter.
And I think we talked before the year that really the only thing we felt could derail this team and the run they've been on would be injuries. And that's got to be a tough spot for a GM to just be hoping guys stay healthy. So I think they'd probably make a move just as even if everybody's doing well and the fifth starter spot's locked in, just for some extra depth and backup, I think they'll probably do something.
Yeah, I think that and corner outfield are really the only two
Yeah.
spots that they really need to address, because we've seen Duvall is still a really good hitter against left-handers,
Yeah.
and that's what they got him for. His production is great against them, 900 OPS or whatever it is. But against right-handers, he's just not that guy anymore. And playing every day, he's exposed, and that's not why they got him. They're only paying him $3 million, and that's why they got him, because he was still available. They got him to a platoon with Kelenic. Well, Kelenic doesn't need a platoon guy now. Um, but with Harris out and obviously Acuna out, you still need to go out and get a corner guy. I think that can platoon with Duvall, and then you have right field and left field covered. And then you got Harris when he comes back. You move Kelnick back to a corner. But Kelnick, I tell you, man, he's been a revelation lately in that leadoff spot. Since he moved into that leadoff spot, I mean, he has started to take off before that, had a couple of good weeks, but he has really taken to that leadoff spot. I don't know if it feels important to him going up there starting a game, and not that, and then he has a little success, so the confidence builds now. And we've seen what this guy could do in the confidence build when he's hitting cleanup last year for Seattle in those first 45 games, was just raking. But the tools are apparent and the skills apparent, because this guy's getting it done, man. It's a leadoff hitter.
He just looks so comfortable. Yeah, it looks like a good effort level in his swing. Like early in the year, it almost looked like he was trying to play Pepper. He had his new stance. He was cutting
Yeah.
down on it, and he was having better at bats, but he wasn't doing any damage. And then something changed. I don't know if we talked to Sites or whatever, but then he stood up tall and just looked. Actually, that's the first time I saw him look relaxed in the box, taking easy, smooth swings and doing damage. And I thought for the last month that I've seen him, I'm like, he looks real hitterish, and
Yeah,
it's showed up in the stats.
And they did. They worked extensively. He's like a tinkerer. We've talked about, he's
Right.
tinkered with his swing since he got here, since spring training. And it all finally came together on that road trip, that Chicago Cubs, Pittsburgh Pirates road trip, where it was like, Eureka, there it is. That's
Yeah.
what I've been going for, with the hands lower, the shoulders relaxed. He's just up there looking relaxed and at the plate rather
Yeah.
than being up there like, let's go,
Yeah. Squeezing the bat.
and it really works for him being relaxed. Some guys can look, ready to attack up there, but he looks better when he's relaxed up there
Yeah.
because he's got the physical tools that he doesn't need to get all amped up and everything when he goes up there. I think he's one of those guys that, like Chipper says, 70% is better than 100% when you're at the plate.
Yeah. Yeah. I tell, even young kids, but I tell everybody, I think that 85 to 90% effort level is where great things happen in baseball. When you get to that 100 and up, like 110, when you're down below that, 60%, 50% range, you're just like, you have no confidence and you're searching for it. Then you get up above like 100% effort level, nothing really good happens. Once in a while, you might run into one, but most of the time, everything's just off by a click. And that's where he looks like to me. He looks like he's comfortable. He's putting a good effort into it, but he's not over swinging. He looks balanced and his timing's good. And like that home run he hit the other day just looks so smooth and
Yeah.
easy. He got a pitch he liked. He put a good swing on it and it went. And that's probably the hardest thing to remember when you're at the big league level is that you are good enough and you don't have to do more. And you see so many guys try to do more because they're in the big leagues. But he's just looked from the moment he changed his stance, I've like just been watching him. But this guy looks like he's about to take off.
It's like that's the guy they made all these moves to get 5 years of control over.
Yeah, we've talked about that a bunch, but you can hold on to a feeling. You get that feeling, you say, that's it. I got this thing that's working. I have my one key, and you can ride that wave for an entire season once it clicks. Sometimes you lose it, and you got to find that next thing that's kind of going wrong in your swing. But him grabbing onto that and where he's at right
Yeah.
now, I mean, he could keep this up the whole year.
He's got a 356 OBP and a 941 OPS during a 10-game hitting streak that he's got going right now. But more impressively is what he's done since he moved into the leadoff spot, which was 9 games ago after Harris got hurt in the first inning. So since taking over in that game at the leadoff spot, as a leadoff hitter in 9 games, 8 starts, he's hit 368, 390 OBP, 684 slug, and 1,074 OPS. That'll work.
That gets it done.
3 doubles, 3 homers, 6 RBIs, and 8 runs scored, and a stolen base.
Yeah.
So he's been terrific in that leadoff spot.
We'll take that.
And that homer at Yankee Stadium was not a Yankee Stadium cheapie. That was crushed.
No, he crushed it. And it was an easy swing. It wasn't like,
yep,
spinning out or anything like that. He just put a good swing on it. That's my favorite thing to see.
Mentor looked real good in the rehab appearance the other day. 3 strikeouts in 1 inning. Guy reached they gave up 1 hit, and the guy reached on an error and scored an unearned run. But 3 strikeouts. I don't even know if he gave up a hit, actually. But yeah, looked real good. He'll be back soon. I would think they'd have him make 1 more, and then rejoin the team when they get back from St. Louis, rather than try to join them up there. Let's see. Injury Report is brought to you by Gerber and Holder attorneys who only represent injured workers. Just like these Braves, if you've been hurt on the job, go to www.gerberholderlaw.com. www.gerberholderlaw.com. And then Ian Anderson, that video, I saw him in the Complex League game. You can't really tell because he's pitching a bunch of kids, but he looked good to me. I mean, he looked like the old Ian Anderson and popping a mitt. Guy was barely moving it. He was hitting locations. Good stuff. We'll see. They're very encouraged. The reports, Snit said, and Snit doesn't gloss over these reports. He doesn't just like throw out roses, if it doesn't warrant. He said the reports are very, very good. Like,
well, they get him back in top shape. I mean, it's hard because a lot of times guys get these injuries and the performance takes a dip before the pain shows up. And so you kind of write guys off and think they're not that good, or, this guy's washed, and then he gets hurt and you just completely forget about him.
Yeah.
But what he did in his first couple of years with the Braves, I mean, that's a guy you could count on.
That's better than any 5th starter you're going to get on the trade market. And
Much better.
anybody as good as him or better, you're going to way overpay on the trade
Yeah.
market
Yeah. You're
because
giving up
there's
a
so
lot.
many contenders now. You just look at those wild card standings. There's a half dozen teams all within like a game and a half of the last wild card spot, if not more.
Yeah.
Both leagues. There's like so that those teams are, as we get closer, it'll probably clear up a little bit. But those teams right now, they can't wave the white flag and tell their fans, sorry, we're not going for it this year. Because how do you justify that? Even if you're below 500, if you're a game out of the wild card spot, you got to go for it.
Well, especially after the Diamondbacks go as deep as they do
Yeah.
last year, winning
Yeah.
somewhere in the 80s a game. I can't remember how many they won, but they snuck in, and you can legitimately sneak in because that's just how baseball plays out. If you get your foot in the door, you might wind up in
Yeah.
the World Series. So how are you going to trade a number 2 or 3 starter
Yeah.
when you're 2 games back?
If you're healthy and you're hot, you go in hot, you can do some damage.
Yep.
Much more so than a team that won 100 games if they're not healthy or they
Yeah.
happen to be slumping. And we've seen that. Braves' last 10 games, here's what it's just across the board. The offense is why it's so encouraging. It's not just that they're getting fluky runs or hitting a ton of power and nothing else. I mean, they're just 266 average. Okay, 312 OVP, 19 homers in 10 games. They got the most in the majors, I think, in that span. 500 slugging, which remember, that's exactly what they slugged last year for the season, 501.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe. What we're seeing right now is what we saw for an entire season last year. 501 slugging for an entire year. And basically 2 homers a game is what we saw because they hit 307 homers last year and 162.
Yep.
So, and right now they got 19 homers in 10 games. So what we're seeing, just, it was kind of as easy to get lost in it at the time and just say, hey, this is what these Braves are. But what they did was unbelievable. Now, the balls were a little juiced more last year than this year, or this year they're a little, let's say they're not normal this year. I don't know which is the more normal. But what they did last year was just was crazy for a 162.
Yeah, and I think we spent the whole year just waiting for it to stop. Like
Right.
this
Right.
is not maintainable. Nobody hits like this for a whole season, and they did. And then you spend a couple months this year wondering when it's going to end in the other way. When are they going to start hitting again? And they're probably maybe not going to hit 300 home runs every season, and they're not going to be as bad as they were for a couple months this year. They're somewhere in the middle, but it's an extremely talented offense, and we've been waiting for this to happen, for 2 months now.
And they're doing it right now without Acuna, who hit 40
Yeah.
of those homers last year, 41 of them. So, but yeah, I mean, it's also easy to overlook the fact that last year they weren't quite the same hitting team in September and especially in October because their numbers were still so good because they had built up such numbers.
Yeah.
But if people go back and look, they weren't that great down the stretch. And then obviously in the postseason, Philly shut them down. So,
well, yeah, let's suck in May and June then,
That's what they look at it as.
Yeah.
We'd rather do it now, get rolling, get in, they're safely in that top wild card spot. And they're going to try to win the division.
Yeah.
They want to have to deal with that 5-day break. And they've cut it as great as Philly's been playing. They've cut Philly's lead from 10 to 7 just like that in 1 week of really playing well.
Especially, if you're Philly and you see them just scraping out games, it's one thing. But when you see them mashing the ball again and you've known that they haven't been hitting the ball this year.
Yeah.
And here they come and they're on your tail. Like that's a tough spot to be in when you know that team's every bit as good as you, probably better. And your lead is just shrinking day by day.
And this 10-game stretch included 4 games at Baltimore and at the Yankees. The 2 best teams in the sport record-wise are, right there with the Phillies.
Yep. So you see them beating good teams.
Good pitching. They face good pitching. They face good pitching too in the Tiger series, including Skubal, who they knocked his dick off, and that was the best. That's the worst game he's had. Skubal having a great year. So
that's what I'm saying, though. It doesn't matter when they're hot and they're right. It doesn't matter who's pitching, unless it's when those top tier like veteran mega aces, like a Garrett Cole or a Wheeler or somebody like that. That's just like Wheeler can look unhittable at times. You could be as hot as you want, and if he's having his game, he probably beats you. But for everybody else, those number ones on most teams, they could put up a 6 spot on them.
Yeah, they didn't have to face Garrett Cole in this series, but they crushed Nestor.
Yep.
I didn't crush him, but they got to Nestor, and they faced some good pitching in the series and
Yeah.
hit well. So, but speaking of aces and elite pitchers, what Max Fried is doing right now, I mean, it's still going a little under the radar nationally because his first two starts were so bad
Yeah.
that it's taken him this long to get his ERA to 3, but it's at
Yep.
3 now. But that totally distorts or skews the season this guy is having. What he's pitching right now is as good as he's ever been.
Yeah.
Ever. Okay, so you start the season with those two terrible starts against Philly and Arizona. Philly didn't get out of the first inning the second day of the season. Arizona, he gives up 7 runs in 4 1/3. So the first 2 games, he gave up 10 runs in 5 innings, 12 hits, and we're going, oh shit, it's going to take him all year. He's going to be fighting that all year. Well, look where he is now. He's got a 3 ERA. It was briefly under 3 yesterday in 1 inning before he gave up 1 run in his 6th and final inning. Gave up 1 run against the Yankees. But here's what he's done in his last 13 starts since those first 2. 13 starts. He has a 2.12 ERA, 3.09 FIP. He's got 70 strikeouts, 85 innings, only 23 walks, 5 homers allowed. So in 63% strikes, a 510 opponent's OPS and 191 opponent's batting average. All right. And it gets even better because that his 3rd and 4th starts, 3rd was really good, but the 4th he gave up 3 runs, 7 hits, and 5 innings. Okay. So let's go to the last 11 starts. And this isn't just like picking and choosing. This is not saying, okay, these last 4 starts or whatever. This is 11 starts of his 15 this year. His last 11 starts, this guy is pitching better than anybody in baseball, basically. Last 11. That thing got screwed up over there. I'm going to do it again. And by the way, the arsenal that he's got now, he's basically he's added a pitch every year, basically.
Yeah. And it hasn't taken away from his other pitches. I mean, that's the hard thing to do. He can throw a slider and a curveball and they don't start blending together and get close to each other. Separate pitches. He's got a cutter, sinker, fastball. I don't know if it's a cutter or he just cuts his 2-seamer on accident, but his fastball goes everywhere.
Got a cutter.
Yeah. I mean, his fastball goes everywhere.
Yeah, he's got like, Hugh Darvish might be the only guy with more pitches than Max, and it's close. Yeah, and Max has more command to his.
Yeah, well, that's the craziest thing that you'll see him do is if you pay attention, he'll throw a 2-seamer in or a changeup into a lefty.
Yeah.
And he'll dot it, it's so hard to not throw a certain pitch for 4 innings. And he'll dot the first one. He hasn't thrown a changeup to a lefty the whole game.
Yeah.
And he'll dot a changeup to a lefty. And it just baffles the hitters because they don't even think that's a possibility. You haven't done it all game, and he's 3-2 in a big situation, and he could throw a changeup for a strike. It's almost unfair.
He's a throwback guy, man. He's not up there just trying to blow everybody away. I mean, he's up there using his intelligence, his experience. Yep. And he could so easily rest on his laurels and go, okay, I've already got more pitches than all but about 5 pitchers in baseball. But instead, he keeps adding a pitch in the offseason.
Yeah.
And it's made him, and he's smart enough that he can keep all those pitches going too, and he's got the best 2 catchers to be working with too. I mean, he really works great with both those catchers. But anyway, here's what I was trying to get to. The last 11 starts, he has got a 1.95 ERA, 179 opponents average, and a 476 opponents OPS in 11 starts. That's 68 strikeouts, 18 walks, 4 homers. Done 64% strikes in that span. Braves won 7 of those 4. Yeah.
You can't pitch better than that.
I mean, that is. And I had his Savant page up from yesterday. I think it was 7 pitches that he threw yesterday. He got four-seam fastball, sinker, curveball, changeup, sweeper, cutter, slider that he threw yesterday. He threw 1 slider it registered as. Huh?
Or that's just total pitches. I thought you meant he threw all four of the or five of those consecutively.
7. No,
Seven.
he threw 7
Yeah.
different pitches,
Yeah.
types of pitches in that game.
I think his feel is just on another level. Yeah. I mean, there's certain guys like that. They just generally aren't lefties that can throw 96 too. You know, like it's harder to have feel when you're moving your arm as fast as these hard throwers. And Max can
Mm-hmm.
get up to, I mean, we've seen him up to 98, 99.
Oh yeah,
But the amount of feel that he has, he can just manipulate the ball any way he wants consistently, and it doesn't take away from the other pitches. Is I couldn't do it. I mean, I could throw 2 good pitches a year, maybe 3. I maybe would have a changeup and a slider. But when I tried to throw a breaking ball, you know, like a
uh-huh,
real 12-6 and a slider, they would just creep closer together where they were both worthless.
right,
The slider would be a little too slow and have a little bit more drop and not as much late life, or the
right,
curveball would turn into a slurve, and they would just turn into one pitch. And
yeah.
this was my first couple years in the big leagues. They told me cut down on all that. Just throw one really good off-speed pitch, locate your fastball, and work on a changeup. But Max does all those. He throws all of them. He throws 3 different fastballs, and he doesn't lose a thing by having that arsenal.
And the range on the pitches too, the velocity range on these, like the four
Yes.
seamer yesterday ranged from 91.5 to 96,
Yeah.
averaged 93.8, which was average. He's averaged 94 this year with that. The sinker ranged from 91.5 to 96.2 yesterday. And the curveball, well, it's 71 to 76. The changeup was 84 to 90.
90.
Sweeper 79 to 82. Cutter 85 to 91. I mean, it's like he's something, man. He's something to watch. And so is Chris Sale. But we've
Yeah.
talked about Sale, but he keeps doing, people keep waiting for him to get hurt or whatever, because he's gotten farther now than he has in 5 seasons as far as being healthy. But he looks good. And the schedule they've had him on with the extra rest has really paid off so far. Charlie said that, he was a little not concerned, but he thought, the only way to get ready to pitch on regular rest is to pitch on regular rest. Well, I don't know if they listened to Charlie or they had this plan already, but coming up this week in St. Louis series, tomorrow, Lopez goes on regular rest for only the second time this year. No, he'll be on 5 days rest. I'm sorry. Chris Sale goes Wednesday on 4 days rest, regular rest for only the second time this year. Charlie goes on regular rest Thursday for only the second time this year. And Lopez has only done it once. So they're starting. They had said
they could have something to do with that 5th spot, 6th spot not thriving as
right,
much too.
right, and they're trying to keep this going right now. You're on a roll. You don't want to just throw
a game away.
Horseshit start in there and give up 6 runs in the first 2 innings.
Yeah,
but and also Snit had said at some point we're going to need those guys to start going on regular rest. So they in the back they didn't intend to do this 5 and 6 or even more in some days with Lopez. They didn't intend to do that all year. It was to kind of get these guys a transition period, keep them healthy, build them up. And so I think this was the plan all along. And I think you're going to see a few of these thrown in there. And then down the stretch, if they do need those guys to go on regular rest, especially in the postseason, you would need it. Then it won't be something foreign to them or something that they haven't done in years or all year, at least this year. So that's what we're seeing this week with those guys. They got Schwellenbach going tonight in the opener against Lance Lynn. Should be a good one. You got Lopez going against Kyle Gibson in the second game Tuesday. Also good one. Sure, he's broiling hot in St. Louis, by the way. And then you got Sale facing Andre Pallante in the series finale. So you like these matchups for the Braves. If Schwellenbach pitches like he did in the last 2, Charlie gets to be announced in the makeup game at Chicago on Thursday. They got to go to Chicago for 1 game Thursday. Makeup against the White Sox. I'm sure the White Sox are now wishing they'd have got that game in early, the way the Braves are playing right now. Not that the White Sox care, because they're losing everything anyway. So the Braves are on a little roll here, and they got through that Yankee series the way they had hoped. Win 2 out of 3. That's all you can hope for going into a place like that, the way the Yankees have played this year, best record in baseball. And the offense is clicking now. Austin Riley, I had his numbers up too. He's really since the tragic death of his personal hitting coach. Um, he had just met with him in Baltimore 2 days before he died, and Austin has taken off since those meetings together. He just looks like a different guy. He looks like himself at the plate now. His since getting back from that Baltimore series, like I said, where he met with Mike Brumley, his last 9 games, Austin Riley's hitting 433, four doubles, four homers, 9 RBIs, 4 walks with only 5 strikeouts. That's a big one.
Yeah.
514 OBP, 1481 OPS in 9 games.
It's
So
crazy
he's
how you
obviously
just
got it
connect with
together.
one person that can put things in a way that clicks with you and it's easy to visualize. You go out and execute it and you're hot again.
Yeah. All right. Well, enjoy the games in St. Louis on the tube if you've got access to it, folks. I know it's not easy these days. It's not as a given like it used to be. Tonight the good one is for folks outside of the Atlanta metro area or outside the Valley Sports regional rights area. Tonight's game is on MLB Network as the featured game, so
Oh,
most
sweet.
people around the country can watch that one. And you can see Schwellenbach, because I don't think a lot of people have seen him pitch, and he's impressive. Of all the kids they've brought up so far, I think Hurston has the higher ceiling. Schwellenbach's been the most impressive one I've seen in the last few years.
Yeah, I agree.
Back since maybe Ian Anderson came up and outpitched Garrett Cole that night in his debut.
Yeah, that readiness, that ability to just jump in and pitch like you belong is something you don't see all the time.
Yeah, he's really mature, and I think it'll be obvious for anybody who hadn't seen him. You'll see what I'm talking about when he's on the mound. He carries himself like a,
yeah.
Yep. He doesn't look in awe at all. And you got to hope he catches that he's got a comeback or two his right or left, because he was a former shortstop at University of Nebraska, and he makes that look like a former shortstop. That's pretty
He doesn't
cool.
look like the rest of us pitchers, though.
No, maybe Smoltzy. Well, Smoltzy not when he's fielding that ball over by first base and then his barrel roll. All-time video. That and the that pales next to the Marcell Ozuna catch attempt though with Cardinals on the left field wall.
Kelenic had one similar.
That's why we were looking at it, because Kelenic
Yeah.
got so turned around at Yankee Stadium that I brought it up.
I think when you get turned around like that, I don't think he knew where the wall was, because you kind of forget to feel the track when you're busy getting twisted up. And it looked like he was jumping to catch the ball, and the wall was about 5 feet closer than he thought.
And it was a weird sky with some clouds, and it was like dusk kind of.
Yeah.
And I think the combination of all that just made him look like
play, but
he did not look.
He's been really good.
He has been really good. That's why you give him a pass. But yeah, I mentioned it Toscano, and we called up the Ozuna thing and watched it several times because it's just unbelievable. Then I had never noticed the relievers in the bullpen right behind the fence, their reaction. Call it up when you get a chance.
Bullpen, isn't it? But
yes.
He was a visitor, or was he with Cardinals?
He was with the Cardinals.
Okay, yeah. So the visitors probably having fun with that.
Oh, you want call it up and look at them what they do.
I will.
Oh, one guy's jumping around. And then Ozuna is just so humiliated. And at first you thought he might have broke his arm. The way he landed, he could have easily broke his arm.
Yeah.
Because his cleat got caught when he tried to go up, thought he was going to rob a home run 6 feet over the wall. And he jumped up, and his foot, he jumped up on the middle of the fence where it's divided. And it's because he was going to use that as like a stepping point and jump up higher to catch the ball. But the ball landed just inside the warning track. It barely made the warning track. And he pushed himself off, but his foot got caught. So he fell.
Yeah.
Puts his arm down to catch himself. I mean, he could have had a compound fracture on top of everything else. But he's just laying there because I know he's humiliated, going, oh, God, what a minute. And the trainer and manager come out here. He's probably going, did you really have to do that? Did you guys have to come out here? Just all-timer, man.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But you know what? He doesn't have to field the ball these days, the way he's hitting.
No, you could just keep swinging it.
All right. We appreciate everybody. 7:55.